Hello and welcome to ORH Hatter. I'm joined by Jamie Castle and Adam Driscoll as we dissect an away win for Luton. Yes, you heard me right. Luton Town won away from home. Jamie, how are you doing?
Yeah, probably can't be much better. First away win since I believe Millwall, which seems a long time ago. Um, but yeah, let's put that to one side. It's 2 wins in three. Form is turning. I've, I'm starting to believe again. So yeah, I think you're going to hear a lot of positivity from me on this pod.
And Adam, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate. It's I think this is our second in a row that we've started with positives and obviously going to go on and dissect a win. So yeah, really pleased to see us break that kind of hoodoo yesterday. And yeah, much more positive than than we've been in recent weeks, I think.
Yeah, as we mentioned there, we're talking about a Luton win away from home as we won 2-1 away at Cardiff City with goals from Jordan Clark and Thelo Aasgaard, who's finally got his first goal for Luton. So we're going to talk about all of that. Before that, don't forget to check us out on social media. That's at ORH Hatter on all your social media platforms. And also check out our website, oakroadhatter.com, to find our merch and plenty of written content produced by our team. But yeah, we'll get straight into it. Jamie, did you go into the game away at Cardiff and think it's a game we're going to win?
Yeah, I mean, I put out on Twitter before the game, keep the faith. In the words of Danny Hilton, have to have some positive mental attitude. I overall I've been satisfied with performances for I'd say a little while now, probably sort of 3 weeks, 6 games. I think if you look at over the past 6 games, I think starting back to that Sheffield United home defeat, I thought obviously I think it's pretty undebatable that we were well in that game, played very well, and bar some excellent, I guess, defensive displays on the Blades' behalf, and ultimately they're a team that know how to win and they're up there for a reason. I think we deserved at least a point from that one. Then the Plymouth game, we weren't as good, but certainly good enough to get all 3 points in that game. Had lion's share of the chances and should have got a win. Um, the Watford and Burnley away games, I think there's mitigating circumstances. I think Burnley, obviously, I mean, I wasn't obviously we didn't do a post Burnley pod, but I was pretty seething to be honest with the sort of the things that went against us in that game. Watford, I think, less excusable in terms of that was more of a brittle mental attitude in terms of things going against them and then just falling apart towards the end of that first half and losing 2-0. And albeit the second half was all Luton, didn't really deserve to get back into it. Then you got the Pompey at home game where again weren't amazing, but I think we edged it, and I think they're starting now to see some. I think an upwards trend in terms of performances, in terms of the way players are approaching games. I think this brandishing of lack of effort or lack of work rate desire from the players, I think it's hard to shake off perception. I think absolutely. I think towards the first half of the season, there was definitely glimpses of that from large shares of of the players. But I think for a decent enough time now, in terms of sort of 4 5 weeks, 6 games, I think we have been better, and I think fans need to shake off that perception that actually, yeah, we're not that excellent team that we expected to be in terms of coming down from the Premier League, and we're not quite at the level that Luton Town were in sort of in those last few seasons in the Championship before we got promoted in terms of just grinding out wins and grinding out performances. But I think we're on that journey to sort of getting back there, and I know we'll go into the game in more detail, but let's heap all the praise on the performance that game deserved last night, because even when we were good in the Championship, we won plenty of games and plenty of points in those sort of situations where we weren't our most fluid, we weren't our most, I don't know, I don't know what the word is, but I think fluid probably sums up perfectly. We weren't our best, but we found a way to win. I think we deserve to win. I think all this talk from Omar Reza in terms of us not being a very good team needs to look at himself first. So yeah, I think that there's a foundation now of positivity, and going into the weekend, obviously we now need to back it up with a win against Boro. But overall, I think I'm feeling a lot more positive.
Yeah, it's an absolutely huge result, isn't it, Adam? And whilst it wasn't an all-round amazing performance in terms of one for the cameras or one for the fans there, and a huge credit to the Luton fans that went to the game, because it was a really tough ask, and there was a couple of hundred there at least cheering on the boys, which was good to see. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it whilst I am actually in Wales now, but that's for work. Yeah, it was a result. We grinded out a result, and we managed a game really well in the end, which is something that certainly I've criticised a lot this season, is our game management.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a massive game going into it for me personally. I think had we lost that, I would have ticked Cardiff off as another team that we weren't going to catch. And also, it's not just the fact they would have been eight points ahead. It's the confidence again, another away defeat for us. And I think probably that for me last night was, yeah, it would have been curtains if we'd have lost the game. Maybe if we'd not won it as well, because you have to take points off of the teams that you are in direct competition with, and we've done that. So fair play to them. But yeah, there's no doubt it's a massive win. It's a real confidence booster for everybody at the club. It's Bloomfield gets another win and an away win. The fans have a bit more positivity, like us, a little bit more optimistic in terms of what we could do between now and the end of the season, and the players as well. There's a lot of players that have not really been used to winning games for Luton, and the guys that have come in January have settled into a squad that's been losing regularly as well. So whether you're a new player or an older player, um, it should really be a big confidence booster. And what you would want off the back of that is a home game at the weekend, or your next game being a home game. So yeah, it's going to be. I think there's going to be a fairly decent buzz, I would say, at the weekend against Boro, because we have that confidence, and it's certainly one that, like, if anyone from the club's watching, get the 2-for-1 beers back out, get everyone a bit merry, because you'll get a decent atmosphere, hopefully.
Yeah, it's 2 wins in the last 3 games, which is really good considering where we were before that, and it keeps us in touching distance of the teams above us, particularly when we're getting results away from home against one of the teams around us that we spoke about in a previous episode, Adam, that we should be beating, or getting results against the teams we're looking to drag into the relegation zone and take our place, really. We've mentioned sort of the game didn't have loads of quality from either team. It's not just from Luton. I thought Cardiff were pretty shocking as well. But in that first half, I think we can all agree it was one of the worst halves of football we've seen in a long time from both sides. And yeah, there was nothing really to shout about from either set of fans in that first half at all. In fact, it was so forgettable. I can't actually remember much of what happened in the first half at all. But the second half was significantly better. Although we did go 1-0 down to a Callum Chambers half volley, which I'm sure none of us expected, Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, I think firstly on that first half, I agree, was completely lacking in quality. But I put out at half time, and I seemed to get a bit of shit for it at the time, in terms of what I thought. I mean, I was personally pretty satisfied with the first half. It was never going to be the sort of free flowing football. It was never going to be a game that was probably sort of fruitful of chances. It was always going to be a game that was a dogfight. Ultimately, we are in a relegation battle. I don't know what people are expecting. So to get to half time, to have not chucked it away like we sort of did it with Watford and Burnley, where you go in half time and the game's done. I think that for me is just, it's all about checkpoints right now with a team that's rooted in confidence. It's all about ticking off those checkpoints and getting into half time, 0-0. Not a great performance, but you're sort of, you're working, you're fighting, you're definitely in the game. You're definitely, I think, on top of the game. Probably of all the chances in the first half, we had the best in terms of Liam Walsh's shot from outside the box. I think good save from Horvath, but other than that, no real chances. So I got some shit for it, but I was pretty satisfied with that first half. and then Morris wanted to completely undo that by trying to usher out the ball for a throw in, even though it clearly wasn't going out for a throw in because it was just spinning on the spot, and then he loses it, and then Jordan Clark has to give away a free kick outside the box, and you should say, yeah, Callum Chambers half volley. So that at that point, I was feeling very annoyed because, as I said, I was satisfied from the first half. You've not thrown anything away, and then suddenly, after 50 or so minutes, not sure when the goal time was, but it was certainly early on in the first 5-10. Yeah, you just fear the worst because, again, it's that character point, and with hindsight, obviously we've shown the character, and it's great that we've shown the character. But I think you probably sat there on the sofa or sat there freezing your balls off in Cardiff, watching the game, thinking, yeah, that's game done because we haven't won away since September. I can't remember the last time we've come back from behind. Um, so all those things at that point were pointing towards another defeat. But thankfully, the players have shown that they do have the balls that we need to get us out of this, I guess, bottom three issue.
And whilst it was a very good finish from Callum Chambers, the goal did come from our own mistake, and Morris in particular, who gave away a very stupid foul. And I think it was a sign of frustration, really, that of his lack of involvement in the game. He dropped so deep into our half to pick up the ball, and then rather than just move it away quickly, he tried to hold it and move with it and lost it, and then fouled the player immediately, which gave away the free kick. And it's actually been probably the story of the second half of the season for Morris in terms of dropping way too deep and not offering anything as a striker. But yeah, it was a good finish. But Luton showed some really good mental spirit to come back into the game. And if you thought the first goal was good, then Jordan Clark told Callum Chambers, "Watch this," and scored an absolute worldie because it was an incredible finish, Adam.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and I actually think he is, in my opinion, probably one of the only players in our squad that can pull that off. Let's think back to like Man City FA Cup game, where obviously we got dominated by Haaland, but Clark pings one in the top corner. I think towards the end of the first half or start of the second half. So he can pull off some real worldies like that. The technique's insane though. I mean, it's not quite on a Ruben Neves par, but that chest essentially puts the ball behind him. If you look at the replay, and then obviously he's got to get his body and his foot round the ball that's now behind him slightly, and then wrap it into a position where, I mean, I guess you could have put it in Horvath's face and it probably would have gone in, but yeah, that's all right. It's a bit harsh, Ethan. Sorry, but yeah, I mean, it's obviously a brilliant finish, and it got us back in the game. I think it was maybe 6 or 7 minutes after they scored, and in all the years I've been watching Luton, we seem to be the ones that concede after we score. So it was nice to see us get back in the game straight away. And I thought from then on, really, we were the better team. I mean, Jamie's already mentioned the Cardiff manager, sort of his comments about Luton and what we're doing at the moment. We know that anyway. We know we're not amazing, but they were terrible. I'd be a lot more focused if I were him on how poor they were in a home game against the team that haven't won away in 16. Like how they let us basically not dominate the game, but they most of the game was in their half. So I think he's talking absolute rubbish and needs to look a lot closer to home in that sense. But yeah, anyway, digressing. Amazing finish from Clark, and he certainly has that ability in his locker, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's a great goal and probably right up there with goal of the season contender for Luton. Though I'm not sure there's that much competition this season, apart from the from the Zach Nelson volley away at QPR. But straight after that goal, Bloomfield really reacted to what was happening on the pitch and looked to use the momentum we'd gained to get a second goal and made some very attacking changes, actually. He took off Adebayo, Alfie and Walsh and brought on Brown, Ali and Nelson. And I thought they were actually very effective changes in terms of they changed our shape, puts more into, I think it was more of a 4-2-3-1, albeit with a very attacking right back / right midfielder in Jones. But yeah, I think it changed the game and we had a lot more control of the game after that, Jamie.
Yeah, and I think props to Bloomfield because the 3 subs were planned before the equaliser, and sometimes if you get the equaliser, you can second guess, or do you give it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, let's see how it goes. But he had the confidence in his own abilities and choices to still believe that regardless of goals, I think absolutely goals change games and goals are important to acknowledge, but that there are other aspects outside of goals that obviously he's seen that he wanted to change, and he still did that. So I think props to him. It was, as you say, a 4-2-3-1, but obviously it's the whole in possession, out of possession type thing where Ali was sort of a quasi left wing back at times, and I thought he did that role really well, and it was a positive because obviously Alfie Doughty is one of our better players, but he's probably had some subpar performances by virtue of it just being all on him sometimes. So to be able to give him half hour off here or there, or maybe rest him at some point, I think is a massive positive. And yeah, I think all I can say again is just props to Bloomfield. I mean, my dad texted me on 80 minutes, and okay, it's the benefit of hindsight, but he sort of again pointing to the subs and said Edwards would have made changes to like the 80th minute. And I think that again, that was my biggest frustration of Edwards. Again, I don't want to bring it back to him because he was great for us. He's been and gone, but it was the in-game management piece. I think the biggest sign of how good a manager you are is your in-game management and your ability to impact the game yourself. I think most footballing people can set up a starting 11 and try and impact the game from minute 0, but it's how you impact it from minute 50, minute 60, and how can you redirect a game that may not be going in your favour back into your favour. So I think we need to recognise that as again, it's only one tick on the Bloomfield book right now in terms of that, but it's I think it's certainly a positive thing to take.
And of those 3 changes, I think Ali was probably the most effective. We've not seen him really do anything in a Luton shirt yet, but it was good to see him having an influence on a game and getting on the ball a lot more than, well, certainly more than Eli had been doing. But he was playing on that left-hand side position. He was getting on the ball and bringing other players into play, which was so different to what we'd seen in the first half with Adebayo and Morris. And it was a nice change to have. And it was another change that actually brought around the winning goal for Luton, because he brought on Josh Bowler for... who did he bring on Josh Bowler for? For Carl Morris. On 75, 76 minutes. And it was Bowler's pretty tame shot from range at goal that actually bobbled back and came to Thelo Aasgaard, who put it away. It was quite a comfortable finish, but it was one that he needed and Luton really needed, Adam.
Yeah, definitely. And, on Bowler, I think for me at the moment, the jury's out on him. I think a little bit after the goal, there was a couple of times he was quite sloppy in possession, which frustrated me. But on the goal itself, I'm sure his intention wasn't to sort of hit a scuffed cross shot, but sometimes, if you don't buy a ticket and all that, there's no doubt we got lucky with it. The Cardiff will look back at that and highlight, very, very poor defending. And I think, I don't know about you guys, but I'm watching on telly and I'm thinking it seemed like slow motion between the ball hitting Aasgaard and him taking the shot to hit the back of the net. It seemed like a lifetime, and you're thinking, bloody hell, he surely can't miss that. But yeah, we need that element of luck, and I think a minute or 2 before that, Chambers hit the bar with a rifled half volley again, or volley again. So we got that luck just before, and then obviously we get a little bit of luck with the goal itself. So I'm certainly not going to argue with it, because I think we've had although we've not been good, and we've spoken about it pretty much every week, we have had some bad luck. So we're certainly not going to moan when we get a little bit of good luck. And I thought from then on, we were quite solid, comfortable. I thought we defended everything we needed to defend. We saw the reintroduction of Reece Burke, which he's grown a beard in his time off. So well done, Reece.
Lovely beard.
Great beard. Great. I'm still hoping to do that myself one day. But there are positive signs there. We did defend well. We did put our body on the line. I'm really pleased with the likes of Burke coming back in, with the performance of Makosa again. So there's a few things to be positive about. I mean, we can't get too carried away, I guess, but it was impressive in terms of how we then saw out the final think it was 10 plus 6, wasn't it? So a decent amount of time there to make sure we took all the points away.
Yeah, you mentioned Callum Chambers there, and the second effort he had on goal with that, what was an incredible volley after he scored that half volley in the first half. And if we'd conceded a half volley and a volley from Callum Chambers, I think a lot of people would have put their hands up and go, there's nothing we can do. He's just decided to be not Callum Chambers for the evening. But it was a great effort, that second one, which actually hit the bar. But yeah, it was, as you mentioned, we dug in and we showed grit towards the end of the game to hold on to the points. And you mentioned Reece Burke coming back with his impressive beard, looking like an East End Viking or something like that. Him coming back adds a lot to what we've got in defence. It's some experience, and it's someone you can bring on that will slot into either a back three or a back four, and you know what you'll get from him if he stays fit. And it is a question of if he stays fit, Jamie.
Yeah. Again, I was chatting to Dad, and I was saying he's probably the player amongst all the injury issues that I'm most upset about, because he definitely showed last season in the Prem that he was every bit a Premier League defender when he played. And of all the players that we've been missing for a large portion of the last sort of 18 months, he's probably up there for me, number one, in terms of a player that I wish we had. Because there's some of the players that he had in his pocket last season in the Prem. Absolutely no way we have our defensive issues if Burke's fit for 46 games a season, heck, for 30 games a season, right? So great to see him back. But again, let's not get carried away, because we don't know when he's going to be back until, right? So let's just hold our breaths, and hopefully he can see us out through to the end of the season. And I guess jury's out on what happens with his future. On a player level, I would love to keep him. He's a great player, and he's definitely championship quality, and probably based obviously if you take away the injuries, probably is in the starting 11 if you were to pick our best 11. But with the likes of Picasso coming in now, I think he's probably in, if you apply injury record and apply form, he's probably number one right now in terms of defenders, and I think he's one of the first names on the team sheet in that back three. So if Mikosso's in, you probably play one of McGuinness or Cow at least. And if you play McGuinness central, then you've got either Cowell or Amari left. So it's now hard for Burke to get in. So I think on that basis, probably assuming everything goes the way we hope, you probably let go of Reece Burke in the summer, which is sad because of the player he's been for us. But it's just that injury record that you just can't rely on him to be fit for enough games a season. They say availability is the best sort of characteristic to have, and he's not got that.
Yeah, whilst he is a very, very talented defender, he's just never fit for us. I can't remember where he's had a consistent run of 15 games being available back to back, and I think that is the biggest issue with Reece Burke, and no one will disagree with that. I just wanted to talk a bit more about Jordan Clark's performance, because he is someone that at the start of the season came under a lot of criticism from Luton fans, but in this second half of the season, he's been our standout player without question, Adam.
Yeah, I think so, and that he got a lot of criticism in the first half of the season because we were playing him in a sort of two-man midfield, and we're just getting dominated in games, weren't we? We mentioned one in particular, which was Plymouth away, and it just didn't work at all. But he's a creative mind, isn't he? Like you've seen what he can do in terms of pinging it in the top corner, but he's also creative. He's one of few players that we've got that's willing to get on the ball, make turns, drive us up the pitch, and we've spoken quite heavily around January about around like a ball carrying midfielder and how much we were lacking that. And I think he's probably the closest thing we've got to that. So it's very good to see him back in form. I'd like to see a few more goals. I know he scored in the 1-0 win the other week, but I would still like to see a few more goals from him, because I do think we need that. I don't think everyone knows we've not got strikers that are kind of free scoring this season, so we need contributions from elsewhere. But yeah, that's probably for me at the moment the only thing missing from his performances. We've got to keep him fit, and if we can do that, he's in my 11 for the remainder of the season, certainly.
And whilst you can't really just strip the captaincy of a player mid-season if he hasn't done anything wrong as such, would you be inclined to say Jordan Clark should be captain over Carter Morris, Jamie?
Yeah, you don't strip him with the captaincy per se. You just don't play him. Simple as. You bench him. You play Brown and Nordas ahead of him. And yeah, he's captain he's vice captain by way of at the club because Lockyer is still captain. Jordan Clark becomes matchday captain in terms of on the pitch. So yeah, completely agree. Morris, again, I'm finding it really hard to select players that have been excellent for us in terms of their careers, but he's just not given us anything this season. He regurgitates the same party line in some post-match press conferences after defeats, when quite clearly he's not doing what he's saying he's doing. I think on the pitch he's lost every ounce of the player that he was, and that not to say he can't get it back, but I think Brown has shown enough to be ahead of him, and to be honest, by virtue of Eli being shit as well, is probably the reason why he's still got a chance of being in the team.
And how much of a moment and a result is it for Matt Bloomfield and the squad going forward with the games we've got remaining? Obviously, getting that first away win since Millwall, which seems like absolutely ages ago, and it was absolutely ages ago. But yeah, getting that away result against a team around us and getting a second win in 3 games, we'll just have to ignore that 4-0 away defeat at Burnley, which, yeah, Naismith certainly didn't help us in that game. But it's huge, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive for everyone. Like I've said, that, like, fans, players, him as well, and his coaching staff that he's brought in with him. He's broken the away form and how bad that's been. What seems like a lifetime. So he's going to take so much confidence from it. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the video, but you saw like his reaction at full time. I'm pretty sure that from that goal kick or when the ball came back in play, you can see him sort of counting down from 5 seconds. So he's so invested in it, and I personally think he's been getting some criticism that's a bit harsh. And other people will say, well, it's not because he hasn't changed anything and the outcome's the same. But, I said it after the Burnley game. We've still got a squad of players, some of whom are not giving everything they can. I won't go any stronger than that because obviously we're off the back of a win. So he's inherited a lot of these players that have been just putting in subpar performances. He's tried to freshen it up in the window. You can argue minutes for some players that have come in and the impact that they've had, but he's doing everything he can to get the most out of this squad and get us out of the crap that we're in, basically. So I have no criticism for him. I think regardless of whether we stay up or not, I would not put that blame on Bloomfield. Like if we didn't win another game and we go down, he stays. For me, you give him everything he needs to freshen up the squad in the summer, and I think he'll need to do that regardless of whether we stay up or not. So I think it, every win is massive for him. I don't really care anymore about performances. I mean, I said earlier in the season, like way earlier in the season, I want to see performances as well, but I really don't care about that anymore. It's just about getting points. So yeah, fair play to him, and things like those substitutions that he made. He's making his mark, and I'm pleased to see that he's getting some rewards for that effort as well.
Yeah, it does show what changes can do, because we were shouting and screaming about lack of substitutions under Edwards, and whilst he did amazing things for us, his game management was pretty poor. But it seems like Bloomfield has got a plan B, which is very nice to see. It's a massive result because that puts us 2 points off the teams above us, and Cardiff are the next team above us. So if we can start picking up a couple more results, we can actually drag them. Then you've got Hull and you've got Stoke above them as well. Drag those teams into this battle again. And we've got to play Hull and Stoke and Derby all away from home. So it's actually in our hands in a sense, because we have got those games to play and we can directly impact the teams around us. So it's a big few weeks remaining of the season, and it seems like only yesterday that we were talking about the start of the season with really high optimism, and it just obviously gone a little bit, but we've got the optimism back slightly because there is a chance now of us staying up. We're going to go to a quick break now, but before we go, don't forget to check out our website. That's oakroadhatter.com, where you can find some of our really great merch. So why not celebrate an away win with some of our merch? There's some brilliant stuff on there that we've had designed for us, and also some website articles which make a great read from both people in the team and people from outside the team who've sent stuff in as well. But we're going to be back after this quick break. Welcome back to Oak Road Hatter. I'm still joined by Jamie and Adam, and we're looking ahead to the visit of Middlesbrough on Saturday. And it's a Middlesbrough team that are in somewhat of a strange run of form. In February, they didn't win a game until the 25th, losing to Preston, Sunderland, Sheffield United, Watford and Bristol City from the 25th of January to the 21st of February. But in the last four, they've won 3 and lost away at Swansea. So it's a strange time for Middlesbrough fans, I guess, because there was talk of Michael Carrick potentially going in February. I'm sure you guys saw that as well. I think that would have been a pretty strange decision given how much he's improved them since he's been there. But their most recent result, a 2-1 win at home to QPR. And as we've just discussed off camera, they actually haven't got really any defenders available, Jamie.
No, they haven't, and I think their season's been pretty crazy, to be honest. I think that they were sort of got through to sort of Christmas time, and I thought they were pretty dead set on getting playoffs. And I mean, outside of those top four, they were for me sort of like the fifth best team. But as you say, they had that awful run of games. He's stopped the rot a little bit, Carrick has, but yeah, defensively finding it a bit difficult. They've got former Juventus winger, a player that I actually rate fairly well, in Samuel Illing Jr. is now playing left back, which is pretty crazy. Johnny Howson, okay, he's not a centre half, but probably given his experience and the fact that he plays midfield is I guess more okay. But yeah, they're struggling. I think looking at their bench for the youngsters, they've got some decent subs in terms of Whittaker and Force and Barlessa. The less said about Ryan Giles, the better. But yeah, I think that they've got some massive threats, right? Let's make no bones about that. But Whittaker clearly signed for decent money from Plymouth. Finn Azaz, player that we should have signed when they did. To get someone of like Iheanacho's quality as well and have him up top is good. Okay, he hardly set the top flight alight with Leicester and I think it's City wasn't he? But they've still got some threats and still players that we have to be careful of. That being said, I mean, it's a game that I'm pleased it's at home. I think their away form hasn't been great of late, but bar that win away at Stoke. So yeah, I mean, as Jordan Clark said in his post-match last night, the fans and the players need to bring the full Kenny force to them, and if we can, yeah, certainly back us to go into that with a chance of getting all 3 points.
It is a good time to be playing them, Adam, with the players they've got unavailable, and also their somewhat shaky recent form, and hopefully the momentum we're taking to it from our last home game, and also the away win at Cardiff. You'd think there'd be a real air of positivity around the squad right now, and thoughts of this is something we can do, and this is a team we can get a result against, and also get them back for what they did to us earlier in the season, which actually I remember at the time seeming like it was Edwards' final game, and it wasn't in the end, but the way he spoke after it was odd, I remember. And then he stayed for a few more weeks or a couple of months after that before he eventually left. So yeah, there's certainly be a few Luton players in that squad that will be hoping to get exact a bit of revenge on them. Where can you see their threats coming from other than Finn Azaz, who Jamie's already mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a massive opportunity for us. Like as we said, off the back of that win, a home game, against the team that are they're a decent team. Like you look at the table, and obviously the top four this season is different level. But other than that, there's a massive kind of race, and there's a big pack of teams that are much of a muchness, and that's personally where I think we should have been this season. Around that level where those guys are right now, 3 points outside the playoffs. But in terms of their threats, I think if they're struggling in defence with bodies, I expect them to come to us and attack the game. And why wouldn't they? We're a team that have been struggling, so I think their threats will come primarily from their attack. I really rate Tommy Conway. I think they got him from Bristol City. I've got a mate who's a Bristol City fan. They thought highly of him there, and my next door neighbour is a Boro fan, and they rate him there as well. So he's a threat. He seems to be playing in that kind of middle of the or just behind the striker, and that striker is Iheanacho. And Iheanacho at Championship level is a very good signing, I think. I'm not sure, the stats in terms of how he's been doing, but he looked pretty good at times for Leicester in the Prem, and obviously was at City prior to that. So he's going to be a handful, and that's really where I think their threats will primarily come from. For us, we spoke already about the fact that we've got Burke coming back, Makoso's playing well, Naismith's going to return. We're going to need a good defence there, because I do think they will throw those attacking threats at us on Saturday.
Yeah, it's not really been in sort of Michael Carrick's style to play really defensive football since he's been at Middlesbrough, and I can't see that being the way he comes to us on Saturday, which could play into our hands, particularly given some of the pace we've got going forward for the likes of through Jones, Jamie. Can you see Bloomfield making some changes to the starting 11 from what we saw at Cardiff, just based on some of the performances off the bench?
Yeah, I think it will be fairly similar, but there'll be a few changes. I think I alluded to sort of at the top of the pitch in terms of Jacob Brown. I don't know what's up with Nordas. He's been our January signing, and he's really only had a game and a half of minutes. And I thought in his few minutes he's had so far, he's looked decent, and I think certainly is worth a go. So I think there'll be some changes up top. I think Bloomfield's seemingly keeps the structure of his team sort of consistent, but changes the sort of like the front two, front three. So I think the midfield of Clark, Walsh, and Aasgaard is working. So don't change it. The back three, I think it's a question mark on personnel, but Makoso absolutely gets in there. So it's 2 from 3 really in terms of Naismith, McGuinness, and Bell. Wing backs, Jones obviously against his former side, he needs to improve his final product, but I think everything else he's very good. I think defensively he's been okay. In transition he's excellent. I think he's cushioned the blow a little bit of losing Chong. I think Chong was really good at getting us up the pitch, and I think Jones does that for us. So yeah, I think there'll be 2 or 3 changes, but no sweeping changes. But yeah, we have to attack the game. I do think we'll concede because of the attacking quality that they have. As Zaz has had an incredible season. So yeah, as much as we're showing improved sort of displays defensively, I think it will be hard pressed to get a clean sheet at home to a team like Boro with all the attacking threats that they've got.
It will definitely be a case of scoring more. I want to say this without sounding like Michael Owen. We'll need to score more than one goal to win the game. I think both sides will score, and it'll be a case of actually finishing chances, which is something we've not seen us do much recently. And I would like to see someone like Brown who can run at that defence and put pressure on that defence, which is pretty odd lineup at the moment just because of the players they've got available. As you mentioned there, Nordas would be someone you'd look at and you think, it'd be a game potentially for him. They've got Johnny Howson playing in defence, who's, whilst he's a very hard-working player, is going to struggle to compete in the air against some of the bigger units, and Nordas is certainly that. And when you look at the way Morris and Eli have been playing, I can't see any reason why they would be starting.
Yeah, I think Ali's an interesting one because he came on and had a really good last 30 or so minutes wherever he had at Cardiff. So it's whether Bloomfield sticks with, I guess, what he says is the finishes, and he thinks that Ali can impact the game finishing it, or actually maybe could he form a front two with Brown? Could Brown be that sort of presser and I guess the target man in terms of winning the ball, given that they've lost sort of their big defenders like Matt Clark. Like, can we take advantage of that and maybe get away without playing an out and out target man and use Brown as that sort of player, and then have Ali to really stretch that back line and try and get him behind. Which, when you've got Doughty and Jones at wing back, and then I guess the quality in midfield with Aasgaard and Clark and Walsh, if we can find that ball in behind. Yeah, I just wonder if you might look at that in terms of a front two. Clearly, Morris and Eli haven't been doing great, so need to do something. Chances are he'll probably just stick Brown in for one of Morris or Eli, and then bench the other. But I think it would be really brave, and I think it would be interesting to see a sort of a setup where we have Brown and Ali in a front two together.
I mean, I look at the frailties that Boro have at the back. Part of me would be tempted to go with width and pace up front, and go real front foot, and just, almost say, like, yes, we know your weaknesses are in defence right now. So, I'd be looking at the team and maybe going, right, well, can we do a 4-3-3? Can Doughty go to left back and Jones to right back? I know that is aggressive. Can we then look at not having Eli and Carlton and having a front three of perhaps Nordas, Ali and Brown, or having some real pace on the wings where we can actually get at them? I'd be looking at that as a big opportunity to think, right, Millie Ali starts on the left, someone on the right hand side as well. So whether you could look at it and go, right, well, does Jones play right attack and we have Burt come in? I don't know, but I look at the game and I go, I think this is a big opportunity to go three up front and to really get at them with pace. I'm sure, like, the Bloomfield won't want to change loads from a win, but we didn't win the game because of the front two of Eli and Morris, did we? We won the game from that solid midfield three. So I certainly wouldn't change that, but I do think there's a big opportunity to really go at them with pace and power.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think we should be. I'd be inclined to go back to a 4-2-3-1. I think we looked stronger and more. I think we looked like we had a better system in place at times during the game against Cardiff when we lined up in that 4-2-3-1. We held onto the ball a lot better. It let Aasgaard go forward a bit more, which I think is certainly better when he can do a bit more behind the striker and get forward a lot more. Obviously, we saw that with his goal. And also, yeah, it gives us that attacking width and takes some of the responsibility off the wing backs to get up and down, which you can quite often see in Alfie in particular. He's knackered at times by the latter stages of the game. So if we can put up a team that's going to throw numbers forward and get the ball forward quickly, I would certainly agree with you there. I'm going to ask you guys for some score predictions now. And Jamie, we're going to start with you.
I think Luton Town are getting back to being Luton Town, so why not pick a Luton Town score line in Luton Town 3, Middlesbrough 2?
An exciting win there, Jamie's hoping for. Adam, I'm coming to you next.
I actually think we'll win as well. I know you're surprised. I don't think it'll be quite as entertaining as Jamie's prediction, and I do think both will score. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, and I'm going to go specifically for a first Luton goal for Millie Ali.
Well, Adam's even put the goal scorer up there, so it's pretty ambitious from him. See, I was thinking 2-1, and now I'm not 100% sure, but I think we'll get at least a point from it. I can't see us losing this game, which, touch wood, won't come back to bite me. I've got a wooden desk just below me for anyone who's concerned, so I have just done that. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, but I think it'll be an improved performance, and it won't be a draw that we come away from going, oh, we were lucky to get that. I think it'll be a deserved point at least. And we'd love to hear your score predictions if you're listening to this or if you're watching on YouTube. So let us know either in the comments or on social media. That's at Oak Road Hatter. And we'd also love to know your thoughts on anything else we've discussed, whether that's Jordan Clark in the midfield and potential captain, the return of Beardy Rees-Burke, or Millie Alley's goal-scoring promise as Adam sees, which I hope he's right, because that would be great to have a player scoring goals that we haven't seen yet. So let us know as you would with the score in the comments or on social media. But from all of us, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully we'll be talking about another Luton win.